Many have referred to the Twin Towers as New York's two front teeth, and when we lost our most influential buildings, we as Americans didn't think we could get over the tragedy that September 11, 2001 brought onto the world. 12 years later, and we are still trying to cope with the loss of New Yorkers and people all throughout the United States. Not only did this affect America, but 90 other countries lost people who were either in the buildings, walking the street, or in the actual planes. It changed everybody, not only America, but the world too, Dylan, a co-worker at the 9/11 memorial, said. While the effect of the attacks on Americans wasn't positive, it did unite all of us together in a task to make sure we remembered all the lives took from us on September 11, 2001. September 11th is the only terrorist-driven attack to be referred to as the date it occurred on. It was a series of 4 coordinated attacks by the Islamic terrorist group Al-Qaeda upon New York and Washington, D.C. But the attacks affected much more than those 2 states. It took airfare until 2005 to get back on its feet, and it is now only getting back to how it used to be before the attacks occurred. President at the time, George W. Bush, declared war on terrorism in Afghanistan on October 7, 2001, nearly a month after the attacks. Sometimes it's invisible, other times it's wrapped around you like a thin sweater you can forget you have on, said a fellow New Yorker who has been living there since the attacks. Many New Yorkers feel nervous or scared another attack will occur. Many young generations know no different than to feel this way. They didn't know the time when airport security lines weren't 30 minutes long, or when Homeland Security was non-existent. Homeland Security is the national effort to prevent terrorism attacks within the United States, reduce the exposure of the U.S. to terrorism, and minimize the damage from the attacks. This branch of security arose in 2003, 2 years following the attacks. Since then, 187 federal agents and departments have been created under the Homeland Security tree. Some of those including U.S. National Guard, U.S. Coast Guard, and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. 9/11 has affected everyone in small and big ways. As for Muslims living in the U.S., reports of harassment, violence, and discrimination treatment have increased by 70% since 9/11. Before the attacks, the center of racism was focused on African Americans and Latinos, but that was greatly changed after the Islamic terrorist group Al-Qaeda attacked the U.S. I feel as if others look at me and blame me for the events that took place, says Nancy, who is a practicing Muslim and lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. Even though all Americans know it was only 19 men who fulfilled the attack, we can't help but still feel fearful when we see something that in our minds looks like a threat. This is why the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority and Transit Police Department created the See Something, Say Something campaign, which was later made a national campaign by the Department of Homeland Security in July of 2010. Since 9/11, over 32 million Americans have been subjected to racial profiling because others believe they are a threat. Americans, no matter their race, took a big step together, and in August 2006, New York finally started to build the memorial and museum. As of now, only the memorial is available to visit today. The Freedom Tower is still going through construction, but is soon to be known as another American icon, just like the Twin Towers. 2 reflecting pools will be built in the same spots the towers once stood. Around the sides are all the people we lost on September 11, 2001. On May 1, 2011, after 10 years of trying to find Osama bin Laden, the administrator of the attacks, the Navy SEALs killed him during a raid on his compound in Pakistan. Even though we got the victory of finding him, the hole in which he made in our hearts will be forever in every American.